Welcome to another class of Unreal Engine 5, where we're going to talk about render of animations by using path tracing, okay, with move render quill, okay? So let's get back to the scene of the kitchen. I think that's better, okay, to use the path trace, because here it's more fixed, the scene, but in the scene of the kitchen, we can, for example, see some moves, well, besides rendering, literally, what we see here in the scene, let's see, I'm going to increase it here. All right, so besides literally rendering as it is in the scene, we can, for example, render videos by using path tracing. You already learned here that path tracing is basically a render offline, okay? The better quality possible when we talk about bouncing, sample, reflections. We learned how to use path tracing, okay? But it's also possible to render animations by using path tracing and literally render, because as a render offline, not in real time, this render is processed frame per frame, okay, as in Corona or V-Ray. And to do that, it's very simple. Move render quill. The Legos doesn't give support to path tracing, for example, or that command lines that we learned. That we only have the move render quill. Okay, so let me close it here. All right, move render quill. Let's see the sequences. Let's add again. The settings. In this case, as it is a render frame per frame, when we use the path tracing, it renders the scene, okay? So it is rendering, and then it delivers the final result, okay? So you see it's processing, and when it gets the value that we put, for example, 300, it adds the noiser, okay? It's a render, it's not in real time. Thinking about it, when we render an animation by using move render quill, it is smart that instead of saving this video as a video, it makes sense that we render, okay, frame per frame, image per image, okay, because this render is going to be longer. Obviously, it depends on the size of the image, the size of the video. You're going to be like 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 2 hours, depending on the size of the video and the quality that you want, that you have there in your settings. So it makes sense to render frame by frame, because if you have some problem in the process, you can keep going of the frame that is stopped. Let's suppose it's rendering during the night while you're sleeping and the power is out, let's suppose. And then you wake up and you see the render, and you can get back from the frame that it has stopped. So let's render in PNG. Nice. Let's choose the output. Let's see, renders path tracer. 1920 for 1080. Okay. All right. Start frame, put 1, and end frame 400. Okay. Okay. After we can get result. All right. PNG. Deferred rendering. It has to be here to render. All right. The output. Okay. All right. Let's see. Another thing that we have to add is the path tracer. All right. We're going to render the path tracer. Okay. All right then. So I already understood that it's going to be in PNG of the type path tracer, but how can I control the quality of this render? Well, adding anti-aliasing, okay? Here in the anti-aliasing, I can control basically the same parameters that I control in the post process. Look, details here. Let's see. Path tracing. All right, we're using 32 bouncings, 1000 samples for pixel. Okay, here we have two fields. The first one controls the quality of the sample of the anti-aliasing, the movement, like the motion blur, the second one, it controls the noise removal, and distribution of samples based on the pixels of our scene. So we can tell, for example, that to get on the same 1000 that we used, we can, for example, type here 1000 and 1 here. Okay, 1 times 1000 is going to be equal to 1000. So I have a lower quality here in the motion blur, and here a better quality when we talk about sample in the pixels. Okay, but it's interesting that you kind of divide this. For example, you use a higher quality for the sample when we talk about the motion blur, and you use a quality a little lower when we talk about the sample of your scene. Okay, uh, but one is gonna multiply the other. Okay, to have this 1000 can use 10 times 100, for example, or I can use 2 and here 500. Does it make sense? Nice. With the motion blur, it's less important in our case of the blur that is gonna have like in our scene when we talk about sample. So I went, for example, 1000 of sample and 2 in the motion blur, okay? And I'm gonna have 2000 in the final result. It would be the same that I would have by typing 2000 here, okay? And that makes the render to take a longer time. So let's do something here. Let's put 2 here and 500 here. Besides, I need to overwrite the anti-aliasing that I'm using here in my scene, okay? So that it's going to use what is here on render quill, okay? PNG, deferred render, it has to be here to render. Path tracer, anti-aliasing to control the quality of the path tracer, the output, the resolution. It can be 4K or 1920, the frames. Okay. Now let's render this, okay? Let's render in PNG. Okay, it's gonna be a sequence. Deferred, we're not gonna need this because we're rendering the path tracer. Okay, so we don't need the deferred. Okay, let me see here. Anti-aliasing to control the samples and the output. But I was taking a look at here. I think to test here with you, 1000, I think it's gonna take too long time. So I'm gonna decrease here 200, all right? Just to test, okay? And after I can render, with like 1500, okay? So that we can have a really beautiful render offline, render offline. Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna leave 250 and it's gonna be faster, okay? Like, I don't know, 20 images. And actually, to be faster, let's change this number. Let's put on the 100 to 200. Okay, 100 frames only, just to test this and to compare. Okay, and after with more time, we can render the whole animation. Okay, but you're gonna notice that using anti-aliasing with 250, it gets a little blur, because basically it's like if you type in details of path tracing, like 500 here. Okay, so the result, like the visual result, is going to be this one. It's processing. Look. All right, so we have a little blur here. It kind of loses the details, but just to test, it's okay. So keep in mind that to get 1000 or 2000, you multiply this, for example, 10 times 200. Okay, so I'm gonna put here 250 and 2 just to test. Okay, so the higher this value, less blur there will be in your scene to compensate the lack of sample. For a final render, you can put like 2000 here, and you're gonna see that it's gonna have a huge impact. Okay, these are different ways for different results, and different times, so I'm gonna render and I'm gonna finish this video. Okay, when I finish the render, I'm gonna add the result of the video for you. Okay, and then we can talk about it. All right, so I'm gonna accept, and I see you in the next class. Okay, let me render this. Everything's fine. Oops, let's see, anti-aliasing output. Okay, and render local. Okay, it's gonna get started processing here, warm up frames, and it's gonna render. Okay, you're going to see that it's going to start counting the samples, okay, before the render, before each frame. So let's hold on a little bit. Nice, our scene is being rendered, and you can see the samples are being counted: 62, 64, 66, 68, 72 of 500. Okay, and it's gonna do it for the first frame, and then when it gets in 500, it's gonna zero again, and it's going to go again for the second frame, after for the third frame, fourth frame. It's until the 100 frame. Okay, and it's gonna render and save this here in the desktop. Okay, path tracing. All right, and actually this is a test that I did. Okay, image 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, until 100. Okay, so I'm gonna finish this class, and I'll see you in the next class. Okay, see you.